Hey everyone, thank you for joining me. So today we have the CRKT Stylus. Now this was sent in by a supporter of the channel, so I just wanted to give a shout out to Lee and to say thank you for sending this out to get it customized. Now the Stylus is part of CRKT's new lineup that has the new assisted feature. So it is an assisted knife, not my favorite, but it is very snappy. So really quick, we'll get the specs up on screen. And we'll just dive right into it. So we have a drop point style blade made of Sandvik 12C27 steel. And we have nice jimping. It's a full flat grind all the way to the top there, as you guys can see. And this is riding on IKBS bearings. And as you guys can tell, it is a flipper style blade. You have milled aluminum scales. And this is a liner lock. And you also have a non-reversible deep carry pocket clip. And these screws are recessed, as you guys can see there. And you also have a aluminum backspacer with a little bit of jimping. And then your lanyard hole. And then with this, it's actually, they did a little cutout for, I'm assuming, maximum amount of blade length. So yeah, if that wasn't there, that little groove, then the blade would be shorter. So it's nice that you can get a little more length out of the blade. Now, due to the simple design and the handles, it's actually really comfortable in hand. The pocket clip is, you can feel it in your hand, but it's not a hot spot. At least for me, it's not. So, but you do notice that it's there, but it's not uncomfortable, which is nice. And the action on this thing is, again, with their assisted feature, it's just really, really snappy. Effortless really to deploy the blade, and then actually when you are closing it, actually grabs the blade and sucks it in, which is really, really nice. My only issue with this blade, and it's interesting that it got past the design, is that the cutting edge is surprisingly close to the back of the knife. Again, really strange. I mean, I'm touching it right now and I'm barely trying to get that edge. It's an interesting, usually you don't see that in a knife, but I guess they gave it the green light. I guess you just got to be really careful when sliding your finger up and down the back section of the blade. But other than that, it's a really sleek and simple design. It's like a thicker, beefier CEO. Now, the changes I'll be doing to this blade isn't going to be anything drastic. It'll just be the scales and the backspacer. So basically, the customer doesn't like the maroon color. Originally, he wanted brass scales. So unfortunately, since it is recessed, I won't be able to do that. So we just agreed on putting the rock texture on the aluminum scales and then cleaning up the backspacer as well. Just so it's just a very neutral color. And again, you get that rock texture. It'll be very similar to the CRKT Buku I just did. I'll leave a link up in the corner if you guys haven't seen that yet. But it'll be very, very similar to that. So enough talking about it. Let's take it apart and see what we got going on the inside. Alright, so here it is all taken apart, and as you guys can see on the inside, it's milled out for that liner, so that's why I wasn't able to do the brass scales. And here is the assisted spring side. It's loaded up with grease just to keep the spring from rattling around, but that is how that works. Yeah, a lot more milling on this one, but there's the inside on that knife. Sticky stuff. Get that put back right there. And then I wanted to show you guys how crazy small and thin these bearings are. I mean, look at this. This is, I don't even think the camera can pick these up. But yeah, it's just crazy skinny. I might be able to replace maybe one of my knives. Not with this knife since it's not mine, but if I was to purchase one of these, use these bearings for a knife that has washers. Maybe the Pilar? the original Pilar. That'd be interesting. I'd like to try that out with these bearings. But there it is, all taken apart. So let's get to customizing it. Alright, so here it is all customized. Now again, just a basic modification to the scales. And as you guys can see, I wasn't able to get on the inside of that coating since these are a little deeper areas, but that's fine since the hardware will be covering these areas and you won't see that burgundy color anymore. So one thing I had to be really careful with, especially on the assisted side of the scale, since this is so deep, so deeply milled, I had to be careful not to put the rock texture too deep cutting into this area, which might have led to a hole in the texturing. So again, very careful in this, pretty much half of this section, and then from there on and the other scale I was able to just kind of do my thing without any worry. But I think they turned out really good. And then I also did the little backspacer, and this was a little tough since it's very hard to grip with my hands, but did the same texture on the backspacer. And then I also cleaned the sides of the backspacer since it does pop out just a little bit. Gave it a nice clean satin finish. But with that being said, let's put this thing together and see what it looks like. Alright, so here it is all put together, and yeah, I think it turned out really clean and simple, yet you get that really cool effect from that rock pattern texture. And again, the light just does its thing on that, and the action is still just as good since I didn't really mess with it too much. And I did put some extra grease in there to keep it from rattling, just so it doesn't make any noise. But there it is. I guess it's just more of a naked look, but it looks really good. I'll give you guys a closer look at the pattern. So it does its thing in the light, and then we'll look at the backspacer here. That similar texture, and then the pocket clip Basically, like I said before, the hardware covers that burgundy color. That way it just hides the areas that I wasn't able to get to. But there is the CRKT Stylus with the assisted feature. Let me know down below what you guys think of how this thing turned out. If you guys like it or if you don't. I always appreciate your guys' feedback. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, I will see you guys on the next one.